Vicky Bly wants to know, which comes first for you, a desire to be a character or seeing a piece of costume that sparks the idea of a character? For example, StarLord. Was it the character that said to you, make me, or was it seeing that someone else had made the face piece and you thought, I want that? StarLord's a really interesting one because it wasn't an immediate love for me for that costume. First off, it's a really complicated costume with tons and tons and tons of tiny details. The Ravager costume design is incredibly intricate, and it's meant to be, right? These are pirates, these space pirates. Their suits are like the equivalent of Johnny Depp's the jingles in Johnny Depp's hair in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, right? Everything tells a story, and it's all important to the story. So the first thing I saw when I saw StarLord was, man, that is what a pain in the ass that costume would be to put together. And I didn't really change that opinion. And then this very specific long StarLord coat showed up in the replica prop forum. And there were two aspects about it that were really compelling. One was the price. It was like just the right price that I thought that is worth getting as the anchor to a potential costume. It's great. I'm looking at the reference and it looks like it's really, really close. It looks like to get it like 99% accurate wouldn't take me a ton of work. So, and that is sometimes what I do. I'll see a piece of a costume that I know is really hard to replicate, and here it is. And maybe I'll grab that and think about a costume for later. StarLord happened that way. I bought that coat 2 years before I made, even 3 or 4 years before I made my StarLord costume. I since found out that the RPF member who commissioned that long coat, he reached out to me later and told me that the company that made that coat under his guidance basically never made another one that was that correct. So it's like the most correct in terms of color and in terms of cut. And I went and made it far more accurate. So it's crazy accurate. And like, yeah, one time at a certain point in which sometimes the high degree of accuracy is the inspiration that I need to complete a costume. And when I realized that this very complex piece was right on, and then we were talking about what to do. Where did I do that? At New York? Or Silicon. Yeah, at Silicon. Was like, oh, this is a perfect one. This is a perfect costume to dive into. For other characters, for Cap, I'm so much more compelled by the character of Cap than I am his costume. And his costumes are great. But like Cap is one of the great superhero characters in film. I really dig Evan's portrayal, and I like that compels me for those costumes. Doing Pirates of the Caribbean, it is about all of the detail. Actually, the detail didn't push me away. It actually compelled me to dive in. I'm not exactly sure why. The answer to your question, Vicky, is yes, across all the fronts. Sometimes I'm compelled by the costume. Sometimes I'm compelled by the character. Sometimes I'm compelled by the narrative of the movie itself, and I want to just be in that movie. My Excalibur armor is a great example of that. I don't think that I'm King Arthur, nor do I want to be King Arthur, but I want to dress in that armor all day long. Like that would be just a great day for me. And every day that I've gotten to spend dressed in that armor has been a great day. It ended up being the most surprising part of my talk on cosplay at TED. Because the most important part of that talk, which is the very end, I didn't come up with until about an hour or two before I gave that talk. Yeah. And the most important part of that talk to me is the realization that by putting on one of these costumes, I am frequently engaging in the process of literally putting my body inside the components of a narrative that moved me and give me something. So when a narrative moves you, you might go past the movie and read the book and the comic book and look at other franchises about that thing that compels you. But most importantly of all, the fact that it compels you is information about you. For me, when something compels me, that's an itch I can scratch, and eventually I may learn something about myself in the process. this is like, I submit that to do anything well, one must eventually confront oneself. And so for me, making is a process of self-discovery. Let's see here. Have I considered a Firefly-inspired one-day build? Edward Haas wants to know. He says, would you ever consider any of the Firefly cast, or possibly even a Reaver or popular sci-fi character turned Reaver? This is a weird one because I love Firefly. I love Serenity. I think one of my favorite character costumes in the franchise is worn by Chiwetel Ejiofor, but I tend to not be interested in playing villains. Not sure exactly why. It's not a policy. It just turns out to be something that I've noticed. I would not be interested in being a Reaver again, or a popular sci-fi character turned Reaver. Oh, I see. You're giving me ideas. No, that doesn't get to me. Obviously, the most compelling character for me is Mal. And this is one where I'm less interested in cosplaying that because I know Nathan Fillion a little bit. And the only aspect of that is Nathan is the perfect Mal. I have known and I have met the perfect Mal. There's no way I could ever be an approximation of Nathan Fillion, of 6'10". I mean, I know that he's normal size, but he seems like a giant when he's in front of you. And he's one of the nicest humans alive. I will tell you my Nathan Fillion story. At the second Comic-Con in which I got to meet and chat with him, Will Wheaton introduced us. We were at this party at Comic-Con. This has got to be like 2010, 2011. And my wife and I are chatting, we're talking to him and his brother, and we're having this great, like, hour-long, wide-ranging conversation. And Nathan and his brother are like, they look at each other and are like, yeah, I think it's time to go. And they're like, yeah, we're going to start to wrap up. And we're like, okay, cool. Hey, where are you going? Is there another party? And Nathan goes, well, let me ask you a question. Do you want to dance all night? And bless my wife, because she knows, as I do, that the only answer to that question is, yes, I do. And Nathan handed me a card that said, super secret dance party. And it was, I think, was the very first year of Zach Levy's Nerd HQ party, which I believe started as an excuse for a bunch of friends to dance all night. And we were invited, and we did Reader dance all night. And that is like a marker of what an awesome dude Nathan Fillion is. And this is the rarest case of all, in that, like, because I have met what I consider to be Mal, I kind of know him. There is no desire in me to go and replicate that experience. I'll get to see him at the odd con here and there. The one-day build that I want to do from Firefly is a model of Serenity. And my friend John Eblin built the model. He built the model, and someday I have to get that model. I would love to get one unpainted if such a thing were possible. We have discussed it. We've never gotten around to it. I prefer to paint my own if I can, but that would be the one. Serenity, just a magnificent, magnificent spaceship. All right, let's see. Should I take a couple from the? Let's see here. There we go. Slug Biker asks a really good question. As a glasses wearer, are there any tips to make costumes that can accommodate glasses? Slug Biker says they can't wear contacts or see without glasses. Yeah, that is a real ass kicker. Glasses are the biggest pain in the ass for me about cosplaying. It's difficult to try stuff on when I'm working on it here in the shop, because most of the time I can't fit the costume, the helmets on with my glasses, but then I can't see myself in the mirror without them. I do have a stash of contact lenses, and my methodology when cosplaying is to put in one contact lens that allows me to both operate my phone, because I'm nearsighted, and also see outwards. But Slug Biker can't see without glasses. Slug Biker, one of the things I was doing before I started using contacts in my costumes was I would use old pairs of glasses and I'd build them into the costume. So for instance, wait right there. So speaking of StarLord, here is my StarLord helmet. Slug Biker, if I was doing this helmet and I had your restrictions, I would seriously consider cutting a pair of prescription lenses to fit behind these. And then I'd have prescription lenses in my helmet. And I do have my first Kylo Ren helmet had prescription lenses in it. It was before I wore contacts with it. A note for you about using your own lenses. Your lenses have been constructed so that the center of their correct magnification is right at where your pupils meet the glass. So it is really important. It is important if you are going to be taking an old pair of glasses and putting them in a costume, that you maintain where your pupils sit in relation to your glasses. I'm going to give hold on just a sec. This is a highly unauthorized optometry lesson, but here's what they do in the glasses store is something that you can totally do at home, which is to have someone sit in front of you while you're wearing glasses and take a Sharpie and mark that Sharpie right where your eye, right on the plane, your eye is looking through your glasses. Okay, so that is like your nice center of focus. I'm not positive that it is your true center of focus. Optometrists are probably yelling at the screen right now, but I'll tell you that this method has worked for me. Then I have taken those lenses and put them inside the costume and tape them into position until I see what feels like correctly, and moving my head around doesn't make me sick. And then I trace out the cut for that lens so that I can cut it to fit inside the costume. And when I do that, I cover both sides of the lens with masking tape so that I can handle it and grind it down. For the record, I'm always using plastic lenses, not glass lenses. That is my recommendation. Old glasses can make a cosplay really fantastic. And frankly, the couple of helmets I have with real lenses in them are delightful to put on. Take off your glasses, put them on, and now you can see that. That feels pretty great. Again, my only issue is I'm super nearsighted, so I can't see my phone at all in those helmets. That's why I went to one contact lens. That is a terrific question, Slug Biker. Thank you.